Well, thanks so much, John, for joining us today. If you can just basically introduce yourself and a little bit about your company.
Yeah, my name is John Thies. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Email and Acid. We turn 9 years old in July, so that's pretty exciting. And what we do is we show email marketers how their emails look in every email client before they send it out, because every email client displays emails differently. So we give them a bunch of tools on not only how it shows or how it viewed, but also tools to go in and fix it and to understand, okay, why does it not display the way that it does? And that's really how we all started or my sister and I, is we were doing email campaigns for people, and there was only one other company out there that did this, but they didn't tell you. They showed you a screenshot. They didn't tell you why it displayed the way it did, and so that's what we really dug into and tried to figure out. So now we take that technology and we give it to our subscribers, so that when they run an email campaign, they might say, "Well, it's great. This is how it looks. How do I fix it?" And we have tools to help them do that.
That's great. Now, Email on Acid, it's an awesome name, and I know there's got to be a story how that name came about. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So the whole chemistry term, kind of what we do is we take an email, send it to email client, and it kind of puts it through its filters on what it supports and what it doesn't from an HTML perspective. So it's kind of like an acid test in chemistry, where you take something, put it through filters, and see the end result. And so we took that and said, okay, well, how do we name this thing? And we were initially thinking like email in acid, and then my sister suggested, well, how about email on acid? And we thought it was perfect because there's a double pun there, and sometimes your email does look like it's on acid sometimes when you send it out. So that's how it kind of came up.
That's great. No, I love that. That's perfect. Okay, so when it comes to email marketing, all right, we all know in our inbox we get so many emails. So, it raises the question, is email marketing dead? Or for a business, is there still profitable by using this tool? What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. Well, it's not dying. It's definitely not going anywhere. And I think the reason is because there's so much email in your inbox, because people wouldn't do it if it wasn't effective. And those companies that really do it well understand the whole experience of a subscriber. And I think that's really the core concept, is like, what is it like, how is it received, how is it interpreted, and what action do you as a marketer give that subscriber? Because it's our goal as marketers to inspire people into taking an action. And so how do we
Right.
do that? An email is like that one-to-one channel. If it's done right, let's just say,
Yeah.
you have to opt in and you say, I give you permission to send me this email. And then as you start collecting information based on the subscriber, you start understanding their habits, their needs, what they like, what they don't like. And so you can really cater that one-to-one message to that person. And I think
Yeah.
subscribers now, especially millennials, are expecting that. For me, with this whole Facebook thing, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Like all this information people know, but millennials, they've grown up with this understanding that people will have my information, will know who, and they kind of expect that a brand will do that. And
Yeah.
that's where I think email comes into play, is it's that one-to-one. It's that very direct. It's not this broad message. Well, you have both, right? You have your campaigns and you have your targeted personalized messages, but they expect you to understand who they are, what they want.
Yeah, no, I agree. So when it comes to that email, we always talk about the subject line. That's the hook. You have to get someone to come in. Do you have any tricks for us on that? Or is it the subject line, or is it more?
I think it's more, honestly.
Okay.
I think subject lines should be tested, A/B tested.
Okay.
I just don't know if people should put that much emphasis, because I think it's like you have the three things. You have your brand, you have your name, the subject, and the pre-header text. So that's what you got to get right. You got to get right all three of those. And if you're a brand, for example, like let's say like Southwest Airlines, right? They don't necessarily need this catchy subject line for me to open their email. Now, if it's intriguing for me to understand what it's about, then hey, I'll go into it. But I don't know if the subject line is everything with it. I think if you have the brand and people want to get that information from the brand, I don't think that's too relevant. Now, if you're cold emailing them, or if you're, obviously they're not the right way, is like if you've purchased a list or something, which I'm not suggesting anyone does, then it might be more important. But if you built up that brand and they understand like who you are, they like what you're doing, I don't necessarily know if it's that big of a deal. Like if you say 50% off this, or if you say, hey, open this, I don't think it really matters. It's all about the brand and the pre-header. Like all of them combined, I think really encompass that whole encouraging that open.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's a great point. Well, I've had a chance to see one of your sessions. I attended the Digital Summit in Chicago, and that's where you and I kind of met.
Yep.
And as an attendee in the audience, what really stood out to me was the part that you were talking about being accessible for everyone. And I never really thought about that as a marketer. And you kind of, at least the feeling I got after your session, I kind of took a step back and said, oh my God, I need to do like a deeper dive here when it comes to my email and really consider some of these things. Can you touch a little bit about being accessible?
Yeah, so this is a really important topic, and that's why I'm trying to, because of what you said, like marketers, we don't necessarily think about that stuff, and it's incredibly important because there's like, well, the statistic that I have is there's 325 million people in the world, or no, 330 million people in the world that have some type of visual impairment that use assistive devices. And to put that in context, there's 325 million people in the United States. So that's a lot. That's a lot of people. And if, as a marketer, you want to make sure that you're sending the same message across to every single person so that they can all engage in your message, maybe not the same way, but they can all get that message. Because they're like this mobile revolution has been incredibly impactful for those with visual impairments, because you can Zoom, you can do all this stuff, and then they have the information on their fingertips. And they all have, like, every mobile device, or let's say Android, iOS, each have their accessibility tools to really help them. So then they don't have to have these tools that are next to their computer. They can get that information anywhere. And so there's a lot to do with it from a visual standpoint. You can talk about contrast ratio, like what are the standards for that? Are you using, green on black or white on green on white? Like there's certain color combinations are really bad from an accessibility standpoint. And it's also how you code your email. And it's not just that too, when you're talking about a marketer with the whole experience, you don't just want to focus on the email. You want to make sure if your email is accessible, that the landing page is accessible too. Because email is a driver. It's not a conversion tool. It's definitely not a conversion tool, because you don't convert people from email. You drive people to where you want them to go. And at that point, if that's not accessible either, well, guess what? You haven't really, them. Yeah, exactly. They can't do what they wanted to do. You had them, but then they can't complete it. And so there's like code stuff, and then there's visual stuff. And there's a lot of stuff that I can go into. Yeah. It's really interesting. And then you talk about, too, is how accessibility tools are driving how we are now engaging with things. So think about it. So Google Home and Alexa. Yeah. Those have been driven by accessibility technology. So now you can just talk to someone or talk to Google Home and say, hey, order me eggs. Okay, great. That's an auditory command. And what's really interesting with Google Home, if you ask it, hey, Google, will you read me the last email? It will say, I don't know how to do that yet, which I think is really interesting, that yet. Yeah. It's coming. And Siri, now you can engage with emails with Siri. Like you can be driving down the street and saying, hey, Siri, read me the last email. It'll actually read to you, and you can actually reply to it using auditory commands. And that's for something I think, too, is that we all have to understand from a marketing standpoint is accessibility tools are driving where we're going. And that there's going to be a point in time where marketers and people are going to be engaging with emails through auditory and being able to not convert, but drive people to do certain things from auditory commands.
That's really cool. I mean, you are kind of opening my eyes, and I'm just thinking about all the different possibilities and where we're headed. And I think you're exactly right with the technology and talking about Siri and choices like that. All right, so, it's a driving tool to get you to the landing page. Are there things then metrics-wise, because, marketers love that ROI. We want to be measuring things. Yep. What should we be looking at when it comes to our email?
See, this is one of the things I think that we have. I don't know. I think that there's some paradigms out there where we're looking at the wrong things.
Okay.
And this is the one, like I said, like email's a driver. So why are we looking at opens? Like, why does it matter? I mean, it matters I think it's a metric. I don't think it's a KPI.
Gotcha.
I would never measure like my marketing team on how many opens, because one, it's not accurate.
Okay.
You cannot get a full picture because of image blocking. Now you can get a better one now that Gmail and iOS load images by default, but someone could still turn them off. So it's not an accurate KPI. You can't get that data, but what you can accurately get is clicks.
Okay.
That to me, so there's a couple. There's clicks, like that's the one that we look at is, hey, great, yeah, we got some opens, but what are the clicks? Because you might not get very many opens, but you might get a ton of clicks.
Right.
And again, it's a driver, so you're driving them to where you want to go. Then we look at conversions from a landing page perspective, okay? And those are really our two ones, but the other one that people don't really talk about a lot is kind of this subscriber engagement.
Okay.
And this one is really interesting. So what we do is we track when someone signs up, right, for our emails, and get an average of how long it takes them to become disengaged. And that's really critical because of the fact that tells us how good we're doing as a marketer. Like, how are we engaging with our subscribers?
Yeah.
Do they like the content we're sending? And so what we do is, if we know that average, and so what I measure my marketing team on is I want to see the average going out, getting bigger, getting longer. And if it's not, and if it shrinks, I'm saying, okay, well, what are we doing differently? What content are we sending out? What are we not doing? And then we kind of adjust accordingly. And we also do too is we say, okay, as someone gets close to that average, we'll start sending them, if they haven't engaged, maybe in one or two, we'll start sending them more information, like trying to get them to re-engage, maybe like a white paper or something like that, to try to get them back into that, engagement type thing. So those are really the three things that we look at that I think are the most important. Because again, if you're doing email marketing right and doing it like list growth organically, it takes money. There's money that you and hard work that you put in on getting that subscriber. So now that you have them in there, don't let them get I shouldn't say that. Try really hard to keep them engaged and see what's engaging to them.
Yeah, that's a great point. All right. Well, you kind of went through a couple of different things. So what can an attendee expect to walk away with after attending your session at Experience Inbound? I mean, you kind of covered a lot of stuff here. I mean, I got an idea, but what do you think? Why should they come see you?
Well, it's going to be going more in depth about what I talked about today. Okay. And what I want to do, like with my sessions, what I do is take a marketer through the whole journey of a subscriber. What's their interaction when, again, like that subject line, pre-header text, talking about, this engagement strategy and what companies are doing and what they can do to better understand what their engagement strategy is and things that they can do to kind of fix that, or ways that they can kind of re-engage with people. And then like what's the experience when they open the email is like from the design perspective. And then also we're going to be taking a deep dive into the whole accessibility, because there's a lot of really interesting stuff with that. And I have a lot of videos and examples about how devices and stuff engage with emails.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what I took that away, and you saw that right after your session. You and I had a conversation and we talked about it, because it really made me take a step back and think. Yep. So I think, I agree with you. I'm going to encourage everybody to go see your session, because I learned a lot from it myself. I'm going to wrap this up here with, it came out in a past conversation that you have Wisconsin ties. Can you tell us a little bit?
Yeah, so I was born in Madison.
Excellent.
Lived in Waunakee, the only Waunakee in the world.
Okay.
And so I was born in Madison General. I lived in Wisconsin maybe for 5 years. And then my parents, we moved to Colorado.
Okay. Well, then I have to ask, when Packers play the Broncos, who are we rooting for?
That was a tough one. I have to go for the Broncos on that one. But the Packers are my NFC team. So anytime they're not playing the Broncos, they're the team I root for.
Okay, well, we're not going to hold that against you.
And I actually still have, like when I was a kid, I still have that Cheddarhead hat.
Yay! Yes. Well, good. Great to hear. We're not going to make you wear it, though, when you come. I promise.